Hello girls and boys, thanks for tuning in and welcome to another episode. Oh boy, what an eventful week lies behind us. Before we start with the actual commentary, I want to show you something that has aged like milk, more specifically my reply to this comment under my last video. While the second part still stands, I could not have been more wrong regarding the connection between channel growth and controversy. I've seen comparably small channels literally doubling their subscriber count in a matter of days and spiking in popularity because they covered the whole CC fiasco with a dedicated video. And I've considered to make a video about it myself because I've been playing this game and interacting with the community for more than 5 years now, and I have some pretty strong opinions about the recent events, but I decided to not get involved and keep this channel drama free. If you want to thrash wargaming or other community members, rightfully or not, there are plenty of other channels to satisfy your needs, and I won't become one of them. Although from a, let's call it, business perspective, it seems kinda silly to miss out on that opportunity. But I've made my decision and that's basically all I want to say about that topic, so let's move on and focus on the star of today's episode, the French Tier 10 destroyer Marceau. Marceau is probably my favorite destroyer in the entire game. I'm still planning to get my hands on Vampire 2 and Druid in the near future, and I reckon they are similarly strong, albeit vastly different ships, but Marceau is hands down the most fun you can have in World of Warships if you enjoy blisteringly fast, rapidly firing gunboats. That being said, I spent the entire last week playing her, hoping to get an outstanding, really exciting game for you, but spoiler alert, it didn't really work out. So I'm just gonna show you the closest game that I've had and you be the judge if it's entertaining to watch or not. Anyway, here's my commander build and my upgrades. I firmly believe this is the best build you can run on Marceau. I did use radiolocation on her before Wargaming removed the concealment penalty of Fearless Brawler, and I also tried Main Battery and AA Expert instead of Concealment Expert, which helped farming damage, but ever since I switched to this build my damage numbers went down, but my win rate significantly increased, and I think with 80% solo win rate in her after over 100 games, there are certainly a few things I'm doing correctly and hopefully I can help you adapting that playstyle. Though I will say that this number is probably inflated by around 10% because there are so many bad DD players around each game these days, which are hilariously easy to kill, and all my losses most likely occurred in cruiser-heavy matchups when there were only 1 or 2 DDs per side, which makes it more challenging to have the same impact cause Marceau struggles if she's forced to do classic DD tasks. So what I usually like to do at the beginning of each match is to go to a flank, run over an enemy DD, and then proceed to farm the BBs on that side until they are dead or completely run off the map, which means that flank is won and I can move on doing other things. However, unfortunately we didn't find a DD on the flank this time. I was really hoping to run into the enemy Holland, but instead we found ourselves fighting 2 stationary Des Moines class cruisers at max range. Now, on the one hand, trading with them is certainly not the smartest choice, cause at least the Salem can just shrug off HE and fire damage like it's nothing with her super heal. While every point of damage they deal to us sticks, but on the other hand I didn't want to allow them sitting there next to that island unharmed, and whenever I get the chance I will target the Des Moines instead of the Salem because she only has a regular heal. In my opinion, once you are committed to a flank, you need to put some pressure on the opposing ships, considering you are not playing the objective directly. Though there are definitely some limits to that philosophy. For example, I wouldn't fight a Nevsky or a Moskva in open water, because their ballistics are simply too good to dodge their salvos consistently. Des Moines and Salem, well, you can dodge them, but fighting 2 of them at the same time is not necessarily recommended because, as you could see, every now and then they did hit me and my HP pool continuously shrinked. I could have relocated, maybe to support our Shima, but with the enemy Z52 contesting the middle, that's usually a guaranteed way to bleed even more HP for not a whole lot, cause a smart Z52 player can just block the middle cap indefinitely while simultaneously lighting me for the entire enemy team. Luckily, there was also a crew first, which in classic German BB fashion was kind enough to donate her ship to us after only a few minutes. But I want to show you what I'm usually aiming for at the beginning. Let's have a look at this clip of a poor Shimakaze that gets caught by a Marceau with her pants down. It's what makes Marceau so incredibly strong, the ability to run over almost any DD she encounters without taking a lot of damage in return. Shimakazes, Gearings, Hallans, they are all just prey to Marceau. Even Smallland can't withstand Marceau's firepower, but of course there are exceptions, for example a Khabarovsk or a Ragnar at range, Daring and Harugumo if properly played, and the recent additions to the research bureau definitely pose a serious threat to Marceau and should not be underestimated. But even though Marceau's concealment is bad, her speed allows her to pick her fights and to disengage quickly if need be, so you should make good use of her maneuverability to make the most out of her. Ideally, you really want to be that nuisance on the flank that constantly harasses other ships, draws fire and wastes the enemy's time. A concept that's certainly not new to anyone who's familiar with gunboats. Unfortunately, we don't have any BBs to farm this match. The enemy Montana basically left the map, which is understandable because I would not want to deal with a Marceau either, although Montana is one of the BBs that's relatively capable of defending herself against the Marceau due to her sheer shell volume and accuracy. And here's a tip: if you are up against one of those pesky French DDs and you know they are paying attention to you, don't fire all your guns at once, just fire 1 or 2 turrets and see how the other player reacts. Usually Marceau and the like will hit the brakes when they see your shots, and that's the moment when you unload the other barrels. So while the Salem and the Des Moines are busy fighting our Bourgogne, I'm happily farming them, although I do know that the time window of them being occupied with a French BB is very brief. A Bourgogne that can't, or for some reason does not want to disengage, will melt very quickly in a bow-on fight with just one Des Moines, let alone 2 of them. I think this instance of spamming a Des Moines close to Marceau's maximum range also showcases the floatiness of her shells pretty accurately. Even a cruiser that's more or less stuck in a position just needs to keep creeping forward and backward a little bit to throw off your aim and make a good portion of your shells miss their mark, although to be fair, maybe I'm just terrible at aiming. So now that the Bourgogne is dead, I have to deal with these guys again. It really bothers me that there's no crossfire coming in, no attempt to dislodge them from that island. Well, my Bourgogne tried, but going bow in versus 2 of them was a foolish move. So it's on me to deal with them. I mean, I don't have to take this fight, and it surely is one of my less favorite engagements, but apart from the fact that they are exposed to me, their position is relatively strong, and getting rid of them will help my team greatly to advance further on this side, so I'm committed to make their life miserable as long as they are hugging that island. We are about to lose our 3rd BB, which is usually not a good sign. The less BBs you have, the more freely enemy cruisers can move on the map and push DDs away from the objectives, and with our southern side beginning to fall apart, it becomes even more imperative that we finally kill these annoying Des Moines class cruisers. The Salem is giving me flat broadside here, and to my surprise I even got a citadel on her. At that time I didn't give it much thought and stopped targeting the waterline and went for the safer upper belt penetrations or even the Des Moines instead, but after watching the replay I was kinda intrigued and went to the training room and found out that you can get relatively consistent citadel hits on a Des Moines even at Marceau's max range of 11.5 kilometers. At around 10 km it still works, but the likelihood of Citadel hits seemingly decreases. Between 9 and 3 kilometers it seems almost impossible to Citadel Des Moines for some reason, and below 3 kilometers it becomes hilariously easy again. So what's the takeaway from that experiment? Honestly, it's hard to tell since the sample size is so small, and I'm sure other people have already tested this in greater detail. But as it stands, if a Des Moines presents you her broadside close to your max range, you can definitely aim for the waterline and expect the occasional Citadel hit among a lot of penetrations. Personally, I think that's kinda surprising. I thought only Kleber was capable of doing this. But then again, I'm usually not the guy that spends hours in the training room to investigate stuff like that, so it might be nothing new to you. But let's get back to the game. Our Yamato finally pushed up and helped killing the Salem, but I can't kill the Des Moines for the life of me. It looks like she always finds another spot next to that island where no one is able to shoot her, but I think eventually our never-ending stream of shells and the presence of our Napoli will force her to run into the rest of our fleet. That's just my life. People always choose to get killed by someone else instead of me, but in the end, getting rid of her one way or another is the only thing that really matters. We already have the next cruiser on our hands. The enemy Venezia arrived to reinforce the flank, and as long as she's distracted, I'm trying to get some damage on her. However, Venezia is definitely not a cruiser you want to mess with in an open water duel, especially with my HP pool in mind. So my main goal here is to attract her attention, hoping she will turn her ship around to bring all her guns to bear and expose her side to my Yamato and the like in the process. A pretty basic bait to fall for, but given the quality of the player base these days, I'm not surprised at all that it worked. Well, with the Venezia gone, we are now free to move towards the center. The game seems to be relatively even at the moment, and most of the remaining enemy ships are pretty far away, so there's not much to do for now besides closing the gap between us and our opponents. Both teams have now lost 5 ships each. I'm not sure what's going on with our Des Moines on the eye line, but apart from her, our entire southern flank is wiped out, and our American ally is probably not long for this world either. If we hurry up, we might actually be able to finally lay our hands on the Montana, and there goes the Des Moines, and farm a little bit more damage, although I have to say we were pretty sloppy regarding the preservation of our health pool, and this could very well backfire at the end of the match. At least my team got the kill on the Z. I was very concerned that she would somehow get away with 80 hit points. The Montana has beached, but she's perfectly angled to my team, so it will definitely take a while to kill her. My Napoli doesn't give a shit and just keeps running at her, and while Napoli is very tanky, if the Montana knows how to aim, she can easily overmatch her nose and deal a lot of damage to her. Classic case of wasting hit points versus an opponent that's inevitably dead. As you can see, I'm constantly monitoring my surroundings to make sure I don't take a big hit from any of the remaining enemies. Keeping track of possibly incoming fire is a bit annoying without IFA, but as long as you keep moving and press the right mouse button from time to time, you should be fine, provided that the ships that can hit you are not too close. So yeah, for the time being, I'm keeping my distance to the enemy fleet. Luckily, the Napoli is drawing all the attention to herself, so I feel like I don't have to be too worried about getting focused. Sometimes that's all you really want and expect from your teammates, being the damage sponge while you do the work, although I don't want to be too harsh here. The Napoli is doing some work as well. The question is only if it's necessary to push this aggressively, because you can never know if your team is going to throw or not, regardless of the amount of damage you dealt during a suicidal push. But I'm happy I finally got another kill and my team managed to get a distinct lead, although the fate of our Napoli seems to be very precarious if she doesn't smoke up and turns away anytime soon. My goal now is to make sure that the red team doesn't take the central capture zone back, so I want to get into the inner circle, which also provides some cover with islands that at least on the edges are shallow enough to shoot over them, and if I can't shoot over them I can at least dodge into cover after firing in open water. Our Napoli is gone, so it's time for the entrance of Napoli number 2. My Shima is coming under fire from a secondary, so I think she's being radared by the Petropavlovsk, because as far as I can tell, she was not close enough to the Italian cruiser to get detected by her directly. Napoli player number 2 also seems to have suicidal tendencies or is simply unaware of her smoke firing penalty, as she exposes her perfectly flat broadside to my entire team after firing at our Shima, and after realizing that she's gonna keep going this way, I immediately switched to AP to pummel her broadside. Now, on a per salvo basis, the AP damage doesn't look like much, but eventually we will deal over 20k damage to her within less than a minute, so don't sleep on Marceau's armor-piercing shells. As you have already witnessed with the Des Moines earlier, it's pretty capable and the damage adds up really quickly. Of course, in the end I should have switched to HE to secure the kill, because the Napoli started to angle, but oh well, a sunk Italian cruiser is a sunk Italian cruiser. For all intents and purposes, it doesn't really matter who gets the kill as long as my team is on the winning side. So this could still be a close game, but now the enemy team is doing us the favor of walking into a crossfire one by one. Apparently the Petropavlovsk is the next contender, though evidently she doesn't seem to be as kind as her Italian friend, as she refuses to expose her broadside outright. Since I can't do really much against her from the front and I'm expecting her to reverse outside of my range anyway, I decide to move up to the next island. This way I will also get access to the Yamato that's currently out of reach as well, and I know that the Petropavlovsk will be stuck in that position as long as our Yamato is alive. The whereabouts of the enemy Halland is a complete mystery though. I'm not sure if I wasn't paying enough attention, but I haven't seen any torpedoes anywhere for a very long time, and I have no idea how accurate her last known position still is. In hindsight, it turns out that the marker on the minimap is completely outdated. That was her position over 10 minutes ago, so she could be anywhere at this point. Still, I really want to get to the broadside of the Petro. She's a sitting duck, and although I keep saying it doesn't really matter who's credited for the kill, I can't deny that I couldn't wait to get around the island to finish her, and surprise surprise, torpedoes. So I know that the Halland is close and will most likely attack me while I'm occupied with the Petro, but honestly I don't really care anymore. I wanted that kill so badly, and although I immediately noticed the Halland on the minimap when she started firing, even before her first shells reached my ship, I took a few extra seconds to make sure the Petro dies, and of course our Yamato got the kill with her secondaries instead. Precious seconds that could have been used to turn my ship around. Now I was an easy kill for the Halland. We did around 7k in return to her, but even if I turned a little bit earlier, she would have killed us regardless. Nevertheless, that was a little bit negligent, and could you say that greed was my downfall? Probably. Could I have known that the Halland was there? Maybe. Should I have expected the Halland there? Most certainly. You never know what's going on in the mind of the average DD player, so always expect the unexpected. Does it really matter though? Most likely not. I'm going to speed up the gameplay at this point. Let me put it this way, I'm pretty confident that this game is unthrowable, although I'm very aware of the fact that these words contradict a few statements that I made in previous videos. If you don't want to see the aftermath of my death, feel free to jump to the results screen. As always, there's a timestamp in the video description. But I'm not going to lie, when I saw our Yamato giving broadside to the very healthy Republik, all of a sudden I was not 100% certain anymore that this game is in the bag. But fortunately she started angling afterwards. Considering the time that was left on the clock, the Republik and the Halland needed to kill our entire team to win. But our Des Moines kept pushing the Halland away, and the French BB was simply too far away to force a decisive engagement. Here you can witness a sad last-minute torpedo attempt. Wait for it. Just imagine, Shimakaze torps would really move at that speed. But there's no time they won't reach, and after all, we won! Not really sure how I feel about this game. As I said, it was the closest game that I've had over the course of an entire week. Moderately exciting, the damage was okay I guess, but the amount of kills was a little bit disappointing. Though the really important question is, was it entertaining to watch? I don't know, you tell me, preferably in the comment section. And that's it for today, girls and boys. As you can see, I'm trying to make my videos a little more inclusive, although I'm fairly certain that I have exactly one female viewer. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video. I hope to catch all of you next time. See you soon and take care. So what I usually like to do at the beginning of each match is to run over and I just hit my table. I'm so f***ing stupid. Though there are definitely some limits to that philosophy.